The thing about the government response to the quake was that as they sent in the rescue and emergency workers, artists went in and worked alongside. So as bodies were being pulled out, as people were being rescued, art was literally being made in the rubble.
Dr. O'Connor was one of those artists, training teams to work with children to help heal the trauma, a process he'd used previously with victims of abuse and violence. So when the February earthquake devastated Christchurch, Dr. O'Connor joined with local and Auckland colleagues to work in Christchurch schools.
We called it Creative Responses in Schools, and really it was about what could we practically do that would make a difference in helping teachers and students when they return back to school, and doing that through the arts, working directly with kids in classrooms and then working with teachers. For us, there was a sense in this work that we were offering very practical strategies for teachers. All teachers were going to have to deal with kids coming back into their classrooms, and what were they going to do? Were they going to ignore what had happened? Were they going to address it? If they were going to address it, what were safe, practical ways in which they could do that? So we weren't there as therapists, we weren't there, doing that kind of work. We were there working in classrooms with teachers, with kids, trying to find ways that would help kids and teachers make sense of what was happening, not just what had happened, but what was happening.
The first session in the Quake City with 6 and 7-year-olds set the pattern.
So what we did was I just told the first line of the story that we would work on, and it's a girl gets up and gets ready to visit her grandmother, and when she does, she trips, and when she trips, she tears her cloth of dreams. And I said, normally when I tell stories I have a picture book and I could show you the picture of what that would look like, but I don't have that. Do you think you could show me what it is that she might look like when she looks at her torn cloth? So those of us who do drama know that we created what we call a tableau, or a freeze frame of that moment. So with the 5 and 6-year-olds did that. So we had some of them standing like this, others like this, others really angry at seeing the torn cloth of dreams. I remember asking one girl, what happens, do you think, if you tear your cloth of dreams? And she said, I think they disappear. Another girl said, if you tear your cloth of dreams, it's the saddest thing that could ever happen to you. So we knew we were working with a sad story right from the very beginning.
The children were keen to create a new cloth for the little girl, and together they worked on a large piece of calico, illustrating her dreams.
There's the land of lollipops, the land of everything that is good. There was the little girl whose grandparents had died, sat on the cloth and drew a picture of herself on a unicorn flying over the land of everything. And what I remember so vividly about that moment was her total and complete absorption in the task. But totally free.
But all of them,
they
it was
all were there, weren't they?
for half an hour,
I know,
drawing with complete concentration.
So once we had a look at the cloths, I remember saying, if they worked with me as a dream maker, how might we repair the torn cloth of dreams? And them suggesting they'd make a thread, a magic thread. And so we asked them to draw up the recipe for the magic threads, and it was quite incredible, really. The kinds of things they said that you needed to repair something so badly torn.
Bed, happiness, to be asleep, pyjamas, the lights off, no parties next door at night, and a good day.
For special thread you will need a teaspoon of light in the darkest tunnel, 10 cups of love, 2 teaspoons of belief, half a cup of adventure, and 3/4 of a cup of hope. They spent some time doing that, and then we said, well, what do you now need to do to make the thread? And one girl looked at me and she said, well, you'll need a cloud bowl. I said, oh, a cloud bowl. And I got that 6-year-old look, especially for adults, like you're a complete idiot, you know, like, what is it? You know, you're going to need a big bowl, aren't you, to make a magic thread. So we went and stood around the cloud bowl. By now there was 20 kids and the 10 teachers, and we put our ingredients in to make the magic thread. When we did that, there were all sorts of kinds of questions that we asked. Like they'd say, 3 bales of belief. And I was thinking, yes, Canterbury, it'd be bales, it made sense. Is belief heavy or light? And they all looked at me again like I was silly. Belief is heavy. I was thinking 4,000 quakes in 3 months, I imagine belief is very heavy. So we rolled that in dragged it across the floor, poured it into our cloud bowl together. We had all sorts of different ones, and we were nearly finished.
They were very clear on the colour of what they were putting in, how it would be put in, how many people, you know, whether we all put it in or one person would put that just a little bit in.
And finally, the girl who wrote this said, we'll need one more thing, and that's the teaspoon of light from the darkest tunnel. Well, at that point, the teachers, you could see the tears streaming down their faces behind us. But the thing that really caught me about it was that I don't think it was just my own breath that drew in. It was the children's as well. There was that moment of like, did someone just say that in our room? That moment of gift, really, that was recognised by everyone, 5 and 6-year-olds. And I said, how will we put it in? And she went, you'll need to sprinkle it in. So she stood there and she sprinkled, and as she sprinkled, she said, see, the light goes through everything.
If you think about children's narratives, those are the kind of themes that children encounter in the stories. You know, we tell stories to make sense of the world, and drama is another way of using stories to make sense of the world, and it's part of that process. They are now living in this really new normality. The world has changed and is continually shifting, literally now, and so processes that support that kind of making sense as an ongoing process, I think, are really important. And people often underestimate children's capacity to deal with or to want to engage with big issues, but that's what really engages them. And I think those things and emotions and big conversations have a place in the classroom.